So far we've been talking about verses and choruses with regards to chords and melody, but there are other sections of a song. We sometimes have an introduction or an ending, which is called a coda, or an outro or an extro, all terms that are used for that. But within the song structure, we also often have a pre-chorus and a bridge. Now I've taken my little gem that I wrote in the last video and I've embellished it for you and added on a pre-chorus and a bridge section. A pre-chorus is a section that comes after the verse, before the chorus, and it's used to build the intensity a bit. It works well when the melody in the verse is fairly low in range, so you can build up the range in the melody leading up to the chorus, so it builds intensity also. It also works nicely when there aren't too many chords happening in the verse, so it adds a little bit more interest harmonically to lead up to the chorus. And a bridge section is not always used. What a bridge section is it's a different section that's introduced in a song. Usually we have verses and choruses repeated in different forms or formats. We're going to look at that in another video. But after that, we sometimes have a bridge, which is a new section, and that is often used as a new tonal center. We modulate to a new key, and sometimes the melody goes even higher there. And it's also used for solos sometimes. A bridge can lead to a solo or include a solo. Coming out of a bridge, we often come back to the chorus, which climaxes and peaks the arrangement so we can have nice excitement. And we sometimes come out to the pre-chorus so that we can drop down the energy again a little bit and build up the excitement to lead to the chorus. I have two versions of this here. The first one, what I've done in this one that I'm going to play for you is I've added a pre-chorus in at the end. You'll see it over here. And then in the chorus, I added in a harmony part. So the melody has two notes as if there were two vocalists or a vocalist with some harmonies just to add some interest. And then I have a bridge section here where I put a solo on. And I've modulated. At the end, I've placed some chords in that lead up to a new key. I've gone up to a half tone, so we're in D flat now. And I went back to the verse here, which is a little bit uncommon. It's probably not the way I would typically do it, but just to illustrate the example, the next version goes somewhere else. But at the end of the bridge, I've modulated up, and you would often go to either a pre-chorus or directly to the chorus in a new key, depending on your arrangement. So let's listen to this. So there I've modulated up a half tone leading to the verse. I have to admit in hindsight now this isn't the best example because it's a bit anticlimactic leading to the verse. I'm going to show you the other example in a moment which I think works a bit better. But let's look at some of the principles here. Verses generally always have the same melody, possibly with slight embellishments, and different lyrics. So if you have a couple of verses, the melody stays the same, but the lyrics change. And the lyrics usually give us information about the story, the peoples, the emotion, the situation. You develop your story. Now in the chorus, we usually hear it repeated several times throughout the song, and the melody and lyrics are usually the same. That's usually where the hook is, and it drives home the main theme. They provide the emotional release of a song. So a pre-chorus, like I explained, is a build-up at the end of the verse to lead the listener to the chorus. And the pre-chorus works best when your verse melody is short or the chords aren't too adventurous harmonically. And as I mentioned, the melody in the pre-chorus usually works its way upwards. Now I've done another example up where I did a different bridge, different chords, and what I did was I modulated right away and jumped to a new key, and I went to my favorite pattern there where I go 1, 5, 6, and then 4, and I jumped up a fourth to the key of F. And then at the end of the bridge, which is a solo again, I've gone back to the pre-chorus this time, and in the pre-chorus I've entered some chords in that modulate up or that lead to the modulation up to the new key for the final choruses, and then the final chorus is repeated. Just the first 4 bars of it is repeated to really drive the hook home. So let's give a listen to that, and you'll see how that works, in my opinion, a little bit better. So that works a lot better in my opinion. So a couple of points here. The bridge usually allows for an intensification of musical energy, and I really led up to a peak at the end of it with that sus chord, and even in the range of the solo, I tried to go into the highest range. Bridge sections often modulate to a new key center, and what I found worked well in that one I just showed you is that I just jumped to the new key cold, no modulation leading up to it, so it was a nice surprise, but not so far away that it was an unsettling surprise. A fourth away is a very tonal type of modulation. Bridge melodies are often the highest range, or the highest register of the song, and instrumental solos are often used in place of melodies during the bridge, and that's what I did here, although you certainly could have a melody. And repeating a chorus at the end really helps drive home the hook. I've repeated it twice here, but we could easily repeat it 3 or 4 times, maybe do a fade out on it. And often after a bridge, there's a return to the pre-chorus, and then a modulation to the final chorus, which is the way I've demonstrated it here. And modulating up by either a half tone or a whole tone really brings the excitement to a climax in the whole arrangement of a song. So let's just go back for a moment and just to show you again what I've done here in the bridge. I just jumped right away to the key of F, which again I found worked, that little bit element of surprise, and I led up to a nice climax. We build up the energy, but then it drops back down again to the pre-chorus when it goes back down to the F and G leading up, but then we have a couple of chords leading to the modulation, which brings a new sort of peak into the picture. So lots of things to consider when you're constructing your song. So that's a little overview in some ways of how to think about and use the pre-chorus and bridge sections. See you for more in the next video.